Okay, so today I'm here, Matthew Grasso, with my former teacher, Larry Ferrara, and we met long over 30 years ago at the SF Conservatory of Music, where I spent many years learning from him. And so we're going to talk a little bit maybe about that journey and maybe some other things. So what was it like, working together for you?
Well, it was really exciting and revealing that for not both my teaching talents and also how you blossomed. So it was sort of a two-way thing. In other words, what we shared together musically and how you grew as a guitarist was really wonderful to see. But it also gave me a lot of insight toward my teaching.
How so?
If there was any kind of a challenging issue with the music, we would often discuss it and come up with something that kind of that was agreeable to both of us. It was sort of a compromise, not a compromise,
yeah,
a balance. Yeah,
a synthesis.
A synthesis. Thank you. Yeah.
I think for me, yeah, when I first met you, of course I was studying with Scott Tennant at the time, and he was on tour, so he was like gone for a month, and I wasn't getting any lessons. He says, well, you should go take a lesson with Larry. And at the time I was like, I don't know. But I needed some lessons, of course, because that's why I was there. And so I never forget when I first walked into your studio to learn from you, I thought there was this space I could feel as soon as I walked into the door. Any other time I had a lesson from any other faculty member at the time, with total intimidation and just fear, for my life. And when I walk in there, you create this space, and you're like, come on in, and what are you working on? I said, I'm working on this John Dolan fantasy, right? Right. And then so I played the whole thing, and I thought afterwards, oh, Larry, he's probably gonna think I'm the worst player in the world.
No.
And then you were like, no, very nice, a lot of nice ideas, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I played the opening phrase. I never forget that. And I played. He says, "But how do you think it should really go, like musically speaking? And which note is more important?" I was like, "Huh." So I started thinking about it. I says, "Is that it?" And you said, "Yeah." And then he said, "Okay, play it again." And then you connect that idea to the next idea, and it was like totally amazing. And I went home feeling so inspired. But then when I came back to the next lesson, I thought, there's nothing he'll be able to say about the way I played this piece. I got it down. And you're like, "Wow, sounds really improved." But what about these inner voices here? I'm like, oh yeah, what about those inner voices? And then I thought, oh wow, this is incredible. So you kind of revealed like this whole nother layer or tier of understanding. I thought, okay, I'm going to go home. I'm going to get these ideas down. When I come back, he's going to have nothing to say. I come back, you're like, much improved. And you said, what about that bass line? And at that moment, I totally surrendered my ego and everything to you. I'm like, all right, he knows a lot more. I don't know anything, but I'm loving this. And then I switched. Remember that? Scott Tennant, came back. I took the rest of the semester.
Yeah, that was.
And then I was insistent that I absolutely learned from you. I really felt this deep connection.
Yeah, well, that was great that you did that. And what's really, really exciting for me to see is a lot of the things that we discussed and that we learned together. Really.
Yeah.
It's a integrated part of your playing now. And I'm assuming you're teaching as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Those models that early on really,
Thanks. But you always had a kind of reserve of talent. It was kind of every piece you took on and every lesson that we had together. It was like, wow. I've never seen that before, and so it just kept growing and intensifying. It was really quite neat. It's wonderful to see the creativity that you kind of gave the instrument and your pieces, and it really shows with your choice of repertoire, your composition, the guitar you play, and it's just kind of really fascinating, but also kind of artistic and artistically sound and really good. No, it's true.
What did you feel during the time when I was especially playing pictures on exhibition? Like what was that like for you to go through? And I can tell you a little bit from my side too.
Well, it was kind of beyond my scope of musical, I guess, technique, not understanding, but technique. But it was beyond most people's technique, and even all the teachers, myself included, were just in awe. It was quite an accomplishment, and I think looking back, we kind of, because you played the piece as a whole really magnificently, and you gave it a good sense of structure. But we usually worked on movements at a time in small sections, and what was really nice is the way you kind of put them all together. But it really blew everybody away. And I mean, we're well trained, and we're gifted guitarists. But when you did that, it was like, whoa, that's beyond the normal range or standard of how people play and what people perform. And I think probably at the time there were only a few people who could play that. I think technically things have changed since then. Maybe not.
A little bit.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, actually, since then, there's only been a small handful of players that I've seen.
Exactly.
Yeah, play it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was really quite a time, actually. I think that really pushing the parameters of the guitar, my technique, and just my own inner being, but knowing, it was a nice feeling always knowing I could show up to my lesson, and you just have this ear of understanding to get me to really understand the music.
Okay.
And it really was. I didn't have that at the time, really, to be able to understand it.
Yeah.
Be able to sit back and see myself what it really sounds like, what I'm really doing, and it was really quite amazing that the dialogues that we always had during that time. I thought was really, it's something I often think back somewhat frequently, actually, to those times that we had, and I think that kind of moving forward a little bit, 4 years ago when you had your retirement concert at the SF Conservatory. And when David Tannenbaum had called me and asked me to write a piece for you, the reference, and it was really kind of like, I was happy for you that you were, some sense, moving on as everybody does at some point. But at the same time, it kind of made me a little bit sad because the time I think I spent there with you, it just seems like somehow these ideas or these memories diminish, little by little, right? Mm-hmm. But I always still fondly look back at those lessons and contemplate the meaning of them, and to this day, and I think when I'm teaching classes and so on, I like to try to bring that openness that you always.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was a really special night, and when you spoke about our relationship and our lessons, not only the words you said, but the way you delivered them was really heartfelt and very moving. And I appreciate that.
Absolutely. It's also nice too to see, there's a lot of students that I taught, like John Mendel, and so on, that you kind of work with, and so it's kind of nice to see a little bit of this, a little bit of a lineage in a sense that you work with.
And Jeff
Rolfing, and you work with me in a little bit too at one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's really exciting to see the direction that you've moved in with composition, arrangement, ensemble playing, and solos and duos and video and and now you're doing recording, which is another aspect of your talent.
So what do you see in the future for Larry Ferrara, now that you've kind of retired from these schools, and what do you see musically for yourself at this age?
Yeah. Well,
what does guitar and music mean, at this point?
Well, I still perform quite a bit. I just got asked to play today, so I'm still taking my performances. When I studied with George Sacolario, one of the things he taught me really young, he said, look, if you want to be successful in guitar, never say no. I know, it's crazy.
Come up to a gig or a concert.
Gig, concerts,
Yeah.
teaching, will you do this? Just, oh yeah, okay, yeah. And so, and I followed that, it was sort of in my brain, but one of the things that, now that I'm retired, or semi-retired, because I'm still teaching at State, is I'm getting very comfortable saying no for the first time in my life.
What are you doing here?
Right. So there's that, and then I have some projects I'm doing. But probably the biggest change, and this is really profound. I play guitar now as much as preparing for like this or a performance or maybe my own recordings. Is I play more for my own appreciation and my own musical satisfaction.
Yeah.
And at first it was kind of new, and it was kind of difficult because I'm always, oh God, I gotta play this in 3 months or something for such and such, and I want to do a new piece or something. So I had to kind of divorce myself from that, and just play it for my own musical experience, but which has been good, and yeah. And then I think I'm also trying to gain as much from the creativity, of a piece of music. Yeah. How a composer wrote it and how it can be interpreted to make it sound good. Yeah. Whereas before, with all the teaching, it was usually, well, I do it this way or something. Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me? You wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I do. How did you find such a passion for teaching? I mean, in other words, what was there some particular student or a particular job that you had or an assignment? I'm just curious.
It's actually funny because before I was ever at the conservatory, I would often teach a lot of my friends, because I was kind of electric guitar whiz, right? So I found it very interesting to figure out how to put this information, inside their brains. Essentially, how do you relate this?
Yeah.
But then, at some point, it made me realize that it was really more about a tradition. Essentially, the making of music as a tradition it's a responsibility for myself to pass along to the next generation or so, right? Because without that, then the art form dies slowly. So I think for me, that's what it kind of means now, is to really keep teaching so that music is learned in the right way, understood in the correct way.
Yeah.
And it continues on to the next generation, because it wouldn't take very long for it to all dwindle away.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like it's inspired by some higher power or something.
Yeah.
The way you said that.
Yeah, I think so in some ways.
Yeah, that's great.
And finally, can you tell me a little bit about your experience with your teacher, George Sacalario? I know who's still alive and still performing. It's pretty incredible. You studied with him at?
I studied with him. It started at Sonoma. He was the teacher there, and I studied with him. He came every other week because he was living in San Rafael. It was just a long, and we had our lessons. So, but it was really good. His standard was so high, and he played so well. So I kind of felt like it was necessary to rise to that level of playing. And in those days, there weren't a lot of great players. And we didn't have YouTube, and we didn't have computers, and so the standard was high, but it was attainable, and it was also there was room for everyone in those days. So it was fairly new. I think it branched out in the mid '60s, and I started with George in '71. So. And he took the master class from Segovia in '65, and so it wasn't that long. But the thing that really inspired me was the day that he said, "I want you to come to the conservatory want you to audition. Don't waste your time here. I'm going, huh? Because I used to drive by the conservatory and go, yeah, the palace of the gods or something. So and that was like breathtakingly transformational for me. So I took his advice, and then there was a set of there was the Ponce Theme Variations and the Bach Gavotte from the Fourth Flute Suite that I prepared for my audition, because I wanted to go in as a junior. You know, there were some classes I still needed to take, but I got all my, because I was at Sonoma for about 2 years. It was the end of the second year, so I was able to transfer as a junior. But right before the audition, I played those pieces every lesson. I said, okay, play the Gavotte. Okay, let's hear the Ponce. And so it was every lesson, the same thing over. And so what I kind of, gained from that and benefited as a guitarist is that if you stay with something long enough, it'll become reliable in a performance. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing George Zacalario play on TV actually in the late '80s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there was some
PBS.
program. Yeah, and I was just really inspired by his playing.
I know. It's so effortless.
Look at his nails and these things. It was just kind of like he played the Gilbert.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember that. Then all of a sudden one day he vanished, right?
Oh yeah, he did 20 years on the cruises.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
I took an Alaska cruise on Princess, and George wasn't on it, but all the help and all the other musicians knew him, because he was on that cruise line. But anyway, that would have been something. Yeah.
Okay, good. I think that's a pretty good interview right there.
How did the audition at the conservatory go?
I got in.